Hello, my name is Hait, and this is my podcast for my Music History 2 class. I will be discussing Steve Albini. Steve Albini has worked on so many albums with so many different bands it is almost impossible to keep track of. He has worked with some of the most underground bands to some of the most influential bands, such as PJ Harvey, Nirvana, Godspeed You Black Emperor, Helmet, The Jesus Lizard, Mogwai, and the band that I just briefly played, Neurosis. What makes Steve Albini's work specifically through all of these bands so impactful is that he creates relationships with the bands. He ends up working with them throughout numerous records, and they really understand each other and bring out the best of each other. In an interview with the Chicagoist, Steve Albini says, "Without a doubt, the fact that I have long-standing relationships with the people I've worked with over the years is much more important to me than any particular record. I don't work on records that are hits, and I don't work on records that win awards. I just try to do as good a job as I can and make sure the band for whom I'm making the record gets every penny of their money's worth out of me." That quote means so much to me. That is the exact philosophy I want to have as I go into this industry, and I think is the perfect reason why this man should be looked so highly upon, because he took on that mantra and became a star with it. Let's take the band Neurosis that I just played for you. Steve Albini came into that band as they were literally inventing what would become a large subgenre of today, post-metal. Because of this, I highly doubt Neurosis and even post-metal would have gotten to where it has without him. When he was in the studio, he behaved differently from other producers. Most producers would dictate the way the record was supposed to sound, whereas Steve Albini put the control in the artist, and he just worked on achieving the sound that they wanted to capture. He said at a lecture hall in Middle Tennessee State University, "It always offended me when I was in the studio and the engineer or the assumed producer for the session would start bossing the band around. That always seemed like a horrible insult to me. The band was paying money for the privilege of being in a recording studio, and normally when you pay for something, you get to say how it's done. So, I made up my mind when I started engineering professionally that I wasn't going to behave like that. This is another thing that resonates within me as something I'll want to keep in mind as a professional. If I can become the guy that gets your band the exact sound they want, and not the guy who can make a record that sounds good to himself, I think that would make all of the difference." That's all of the time I have right now, but I hope you have learned a little something about Steve Albini.